Iloilo Newsline. Magapangalagad na ang programa nga Iloilo Night Watch sa syudad kag probinsya sang Iloilo. Gimaras Antique Aklan kapis syudad sang Bacolod kag Negros Occidental ilabi na sa sagwa sang pungsod. Ang ini nga programa magadala sa mga balita, impormasyon kag magasipad-sipad sa mga issues nga mangin patas ang presentasyon sa tanan kag mabatian sa Facebook page kag YouTube channel sang Iloilo Newsline. Ang Iloilo Night Watch mangin mata kag dulunggan sa mga listeners kag mga viewers kag ining mabatian halin las 8:30 sang gabi tubtob las 10 sang gabi. Mayong gabi banwa, mayong gabi sa ato mga listeners kag mga viewers, kumusta na kamo tanan? Nagapamati na kamo sa ato nga pagwaragwag diri sa Iloilo Night Watch. Mabatian kita sa Iloilo Newsline kag sumuman sa Guimaras Newsline. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, syudad kag probinsya sang Iloilo, Antique, Aklan, Capiz, Negros Occidental, Bacolod kag Guimaras, mayad-ayad nga gabi sa inyong nga tanan. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, nakatutok na karon sa ato nga pagpangalagad sa pagdala sa mga issues, balita, lokal, national, international. Palihogan na standby. Kaya nagatupa ang winisik nga ulan sa syudad kag probinsya sang Iloilo. Pero i-check nato na ato nga lokal pag-asa. Ibalon nato ng sitwasyon sa nga panahon. Palihog standby. Ulat-ulaton tang ato nga weather specialist para mabalan man sa aton nga mga nagapangisda, nagapalawod. Kung nagakaangay nga mapalawod sila o kung magapabilin lang anay sila sa igad bangod sa sitwasyon sa panahon. Asiplatan tayo ini karon ang hambal sa mga infectious diseases expert. No? So no sa ila, ari na di kuno may kaso na kita sa FE.1 Omicron subvariant. Ha? Amon isa sa unabla sa COVID-19, mayara dason nga Omicron subvariant, iniya subong FE.1 Omicron subvariant. Ari na kuno sa pungsod. So i-check naton ini karon ng dugang nga mga impormasyon. So palihog standby. 19 minutos na nakaligad sa alas 9 sa dugang pagid nga balita nga atong karon pasiplatan. Justice Department. Ilabi na si Secretary Si Justice Secretary Crispin Rimulya nagpabutyag nga confident pa sila na ari pa si General Bantag sa Pilipinas. Nagapanago lang pero i-check natin ini karon ang dugang mga impormasyon upod ni sa taga Justice Department para mabalanta ang confirmation. Palihog standby. Kunahon nato na na-check ang atong local pag-asa. Yara na sa atong linya ang atong weather specialist. Iloilo Newsline Weather Update. Engineer Farbs Ruben, mayong gabi sir. Hello? Hello sir. Hara? Hello? So tawagan naton liwat nagakautod ang linya. Ibangod guro sa trunk line no sa PLDT. Kag sa iban nga mga network. Palihog standby lang, no? Sa atong mga listeners, ara na si Engineer Farbs Robin. Engineer Robin, sir, mayong gabi.
Yes sir, mayong gabi. Kag sa aton mga tagpalamati, amo ni aton nga latest weather update sa subong nga June 29, no? 2023. Wala man kita may gina-monitor nga bagyo or low pressure area sa sulod kagwa sang aton nga Philippine Area of Responsibility. Samtang ang Intertropical Convergence Zone o kunang ITCZ among padayon nga mag-apekto sa may Palawan kag Mindanao. Kita diri sa Western Visayas, generally fair weather kita, ara kun kay sang posibilidad sa mga pag-ulan-ulan sa iban nga parte sang aton nga region nga dala sang aton nga mga localized nga mga thunderstorms. Hinatugtog kasarangan na hangin halin sa nabagatnan na katundan, tugtog sa nabagatnan, ang mga ibabaw sa Western Visayas sa diin makanay tugtog kasarangan aton mga pagbalod sa kadagatan. Ato naman nga forecast range of temperatures yara sa 26 tugtog 32 degrees centigrado. Atol nga adlaw nagtunod kay ina alas 6:14 sang hapon kag mabaplakin siya buhat. Alas 5:29 sang kaagahon. Amo ni aton latest weather update halin diri sa Iloilo Doppler Radar Station pag-asa Visayas DOST. Ako Fred Rubin madam og ini salamat.
Engineer First Rubin, ang pagtupa ni sa mga winisik nga ulan, pagpulo panality sa iban nga mga area sa syudad, kag sa probinsya, ano ini siyang kausa palihog?
Yes sir, dala ni siya sa mga localized thunderstorms naton. So nag-issue man kita kayina sang thunderstorm advisory sa iban nga parte sang aton nga rehiyon kung sa diin ang mga pagpangilat pa nag-uob kag mga pagulan-ulan, posible nga maglawig sa isa tubtob duwa ka oras pero pagkatapos generally improving kag fair weather na.
Okay. Engineer First Rubin, sir, madamo nga salamat, kag mayong gabi.
Thank you sir, salamat mga gabi na.
Iloilo Newsline Weather Update.
Nabatihan ang atong local pag-asa upod sa ka-Engineer First Rubin kag ginadulong sa inyo sa Pinangsa Flower Shop. Pinangsa Flower Shop na hamtang ini sa Isnat City proper sa kilid lang sa Los Filipinos Bakery. Pwede ka mo kakadto dira kag magbakal sa mabulak. Kadtuin nyo lang si Mr. and Mrs. Cyril Takusalmi. Mayara sila numbers base mag-order ka mo. Areo 0920 825-6483 0920-825-6483 kag 0916-786-8896 0916-786-8896 Pinangs Flower Shop. Kung mag-order ka mo sa mapagkaon, pakiter ka mo para sa inyong mga okasyon, kadtuin nyo lang si Niji Matupas sa Cruising Patio Dueñas, Iloilo. Kay manamit siya magluto, no? Kadtuin nyo lang da palihog. Ipabatita sa inyo ang hambal sang infectious diseases expert. May kang tanan sini sa nakasulod na kuno sa pungsod ang FE.1 Omicron subvariant nga mo ni blang COVID, no? COVID-19 tama kuno ni kapiligroso. So dapat nga maghalong kita. Ari na naman. Yari si Dr. Ronjen Solante, infectious diseases expert, president sa Philippine College of Physicians. Interview sang PTV.
Variant of the Omicron, no? So kumbaga, it is under the umbrella of the XBB variants of interest. Kasama dito, kumbaga magkapatid lang to sa XBB.1, .16, XBB.1.5, which are the two dominant subvariants now of Omicron, and which is also present here in the Philippines, no? And so far, in terms of the characteristic niya, Aljo, no, there are no direct evidence yet na itong bagong subvariant na to ay mas mataas na makakahawa or pwedeng makakos ng severe infection or pwedeng makakos ng or pwede siyang malusutan, no? Yung malusutan niya yung immune system natin even if we are vaccinated, no? But there are specific mutations, no? They call it mutations of interest na magkahawig talaga sa XBB. At alam naman natin ang XBB, ito yung mga variants ngayon kung saan tumataas yung mga kaso the past few weeks or the past months, and minsan meron ding na hospital, no? So it may not be different, totally different as those XBB. So most likely it can still cause severe infection, but only for those who are highly vulnerable, like the elderly population. And most of the symptoms are mild because ang kadalasang tinitirahan nitong mga bagong variants under the Omicron is in the upper respiratory tract, no? Not lower respiratory tract, unlike yung Delta. So we would expect the same clinical manifestation as that of the Omicron: ubo, lagnat, sore throat, pananakit sa katawan. And mostly these are very mild, and most of the time, especially pag mga younger population, hindi kailangan gamutin at hindi magpo-proceed doon sa severe form of infection.
Okay. Dapat ba tayo mga dito sa subvariant na ito, Doktor?
Well, just like any subvariants in the past na na-report dito sa Philippine Genome Center, kailangan talaga nating ma-monitor, no? Now, kung in terms of pangamba, we should not panic because for almost 2 years now, maganda ang healthcare utilization rate natin. Hindi naman nakaka-cause ng most severe infection. Pero ang pangamba ko lang dito, Aljo, are the vulnerable population, especially na alam natin ang immunity ng mga vulnerable population talagang bumababa 4 to 6 months after the vaccination or even after the exposure of a COVID infection. No? So, ito yung mga population na kailangan nating palalahanan palagi na magsuot ng face mask at i-update ang kanilang bakuna para lang naman an added layer of protection para hindi magiging severe sa pagkakuha or makakuha ng ganitong FE.1.
Okay. Ito bang mga bivalent vaccines natin, epektibo ba laban dito sa bagong variant na ito, FE.1?
Wala pong data na nakita tayo so far na sa mga bivalent vaccine na tinitest dito sa bagong FE.1, no? But if I'm going to correlate the efficacy, no, yung bisa nitong mga XBB or itong bivalent vaccine dito sa mga XBB, there is substantial protection naman, no? Hindi naman talagang zero, no? But again, hindi ganun din kataas. And that's why it's important na kung halimbawa darating man itong mga bivalent vaccine for the booster of the healthcare, including the senior citizens, sana mapabakunahan kaagad natin para at least meron pa rin protection, hindi makakuha ng itong mga bagong variants na under the Omicron lineage, and at the same time, napaka-importante pa rin ang bakuna in order to maintain the population immunity para hindi tatagal ang paghawaan at yung pag-develop ng mga bagong mutations with Omicron.
Okay. How about ang positivity rate ng Pilipinas, Doktor, sa ngayon? Lalo na dito sa NCR, tumaas ba?
Well, ang maganda ngayon, Aljo, no, for the past week, based doon sa mga surveillance na nakikita natin sa Department of Health, no, mababa na pa ang trending is going down, especially with the National Capital Region. Ang positivity rate for the past 7 days bumaba to 7.2%, no, which is one of the lowest so far this year, no, even with this mga bagong XBB. And at the same time, what makes this good is that sa tingin ko stable na yung mga COVID infections natin dahil even the healthcare utilization rate bumaba na rin to less than 25%, and yung ICU occupancy is also less than 20%. No? So meaning these are so manageable rate of healthcare utilization and ICU, and most of those na natatamaan dito are really the vulnerable population. So in a way, medyo nalampasan na natin yung effect ng mga bagong XBB variants of interest. Ang gusto lang natin na mapanatili natin yung immunity natin at saka protection by always observing the health protocol at pag-receive ng mga bagong bakuna.
Nabatihan si Dr. Ron Jane Solante. No, Ron Jane Solante, infectious diseases expert, ka-president sa Philippine College of Physicians. So amo ning hambal niya. So hindi dapat kita magkabalaka, hindi dapat kita magpanik sa nagsulod sini nga bag-o nga variant o sub-variant sa nga Omicron nga amo ini ang tawag nila FE.1 Omicron sub-variant. Di kita magpanik, no? Ang importante nga maayo ang immune system naton. Maayo ang panglawason naton. Hindi kita nga mag-abuso sa aton nga panglawason. Salamat gid sa kay Sir Jonas Villosilio, no? Thank you so much. Sa mga listeners naton basi kadto kamo syudad, maglagaw-lagaw kamo. Bao kadamo na sa development na. Basi mag-jogging-jogging kamo sa esplanade, mayo. Kadtuan yung iban pagid nga mga tourist spots. Tanawan nyo lang ang wheels sang city government para sa Iloilo Newsline. Makitan pagid ninyo sa Gimaras Newsline kag sa YouTube channel sang Iloilo Newsline. More power, Iloilo, bringing more to life.
When we first arrived, we said we'd be more. And we were. We said we'd give you more. And we did. We even source 100% of our electricity from renewable energy, all while having the lowest rates in the country. But wait, no, that's not enough. This year, we're going to do more. But what does do more mean? It means more upgrades. More trees, more mangroves, more fingerlings, more crops, and more fruits. More of her, more of him, more of you, more of us, more of her, him, you, and us, making this world a better place for them. More power is going to do more, because with more power comes great sustainability.
Health complex. A health complex will rise complete with hospital, quarantine, isolation and dormitory facilities, and molecular laboratory, all in one location at Barangay San Pedro Molo. The 104-bed Level 2 hospital will have an intensive care unit and specialist doctors per DOH standards. Molecular laboratory. There's an urgent need for faster releasing of RT-PCR results to effectively and efficiently manage confirmed cases. With that, we converted the ALS building into a temporary COVID-19 molecular laboratory, hiring 34 medical technologists. Later on, the machines can be calibrated to test dengue and HIV. Contact tracing. We already trained 120 persons as contact tracers. The City Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit of the City Health Office is conducting aggressive contact tracing to locate all close contacts and manage confirmed cases efficiently and effectively. Patient transport. 6 ambulance units and 1 minibus are being used by the Iloilo City Emergency Response of the City Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office in transporting positive patients to healthcare or quarantine facilities. Modular Hospital. Iloilo City government and partners have started preparing additional beds for COVID-19 patients. This temporary hospital seeks to address the high health care utilization rate, considering the city-based facilities also cater to patients from 5 neighboring provinces in Panay Island. A 66-bed modular hospital, which is a 3-unit 22-bed per unit, will be built nearby Suok quarantine facility. An additional 32 isolation beds will also be built in front of the existing one, also in Suok. The isolation and quarantine facilities shall form part of the proposed hospital in collaboration with the Department of Health. Quarantine facilities. St. Therese Hospital, which has been non-operational for quite some time, has been lent for free and has been serving as a quarantine facility. This move is in preparation for possible increase in infections, which may be caused by the more contagious Delta variant. Iloilo City has put in place a total of 1,500 isolation beds, including close to 1,000 in government-run facilities and at least 500 private beds in various partner hotels in case of COVID-19 surge. These will cater to mild and moderate cases to give the already overwhelmed hospitals a breathing room. City-run facilities have provided lunch and dinner meals, medicines, vitamins, hygiene kits, and medical checkups. City Vax teams. The city's vaccination teams include City Health Office doctors, nurses, vaccinators, health workers, site managers, Liga ng mga barangay, IT, PSTMO and PNP personnel, volunteers, and logistics team from the General Services Office. They target at least 10,000 vaccinations a day in the 5 identified mega sites: SM City, Robinson's Haro, Mega World Transport Hub, Central Philippine University, and Ateneo de Iloilo. They also conduct community-based vaccination in barangays identified as having low vaccination turnout. We have 28 medical officers or doctors, vaccinators composed of 51 nurses, and 13 midwives, 16 nursing aides, 13 dentists, 303 assistants composed of BSPOs, health workers, health center staffs, and etc. Disinfection. City Health Office Sanitation Division disinfects city government offices that are locked down following confirmed cases, as well as national government agencies and establishments that request assistance. Volunteer fire brigades and Bureau of Fire Protection also help in disinfection. The threat of this pandemic has pushed the Iloilo City government to double its efforts in fighting the unseen enemy, without overlooking the usual health issues, problems, and concerns that need to be addressed. Let us continue to bring Iloilo City to the next level.
Trantayotso minutos na nakaligad sa alas 9, ginadolong sa inyo sa Cindy Sandy Store na hamtang sa Rizapalapala, Uno City proper. Nagabaligya sa machichirias, mga ilimnon, mga soft drinks, kagiban pa nga sa sulod sa balay nyo, sa mga tiyangge nyo. At dira ka mukuha sa Cindy Sandy Store. Wholesaler na ka-retailer, ginapanagyan ni Sir Brian kag Ida Joy Buno. Ang Justice Department, no, sang under sa kay Secretary Crispin Remulla, nagasigahom nga kagdako ang pagpati ang ari diri sa Pilipinas, si Bantag, no? Si Gerald Bantag nga mo ining ginapangita blato sang una sa New Bilibid Prison nga mo ning ang hari-hari to, no? Kag aligar nga nagahimo siya kuno sa mga kalainan to sa mga priso. Di sa bagay, why pa man na mapamatudan, no? I-prove ba na yan nila sa court kung ano gitman na madangtan ni Gerald Bantag? Tiyambal sang Justice Department sang pagi sa Secretary Remulla, nga ari kuno di sa pungsod, ari kuno sa Pinas, pero why balan kundiin, no? Kundiin si General Bantag. Yari si Assistant Secretary Miko Clavano, spokesperson sang Justice Department.
The surrender feelers did not come from the lawyer. They came from a common contact, or people in the common network of both Secretary Remulla and former Director General Bantag.
Okay. Now, I know there's a lot of information coming in, but are you still sure that he's in the country?
Yes, Karen, we have eyes and ears on him. In fact, the information that has come forth all revolve around the same general area. So we have eyes and ears on him. It's just that we need to pinpoint exactly where he is and to time the operation, or I guess the arrest, properly, so as to catch him off guard. It seems as though, because based on the credible information, that he seems to be moving around the certain general area. So in order to streamline this information and to go directly to the source, we needed to put out this reward.
Okay, but then it hasn't been long. In other words, it hasn't been years, or not even maybe 6 months. I wanted to ask you, by putting out a reward, it seems also to be a statement on the fact that police enforcement units aren't doing their job, because there is a warrant of arrest against Bantag.
Yes, well, I'd like to venture into this quite carefully. However, the person at hand, or the accused, the former Director General Bantag, as you may know, is also a police officer, and he has a certain network as well within the police, and I guess also in other law enforcement agencies, which makes it a little bit tricky. I'm not saying that it has impeded in any way our investigation or the attempt to arrest Mr. Bantag. It's just that the public themselves, as the source of the funds, has also put emphasis on resolving this case. I'd like to assure you and those watching that no public funds was used for the reward. The reward was put up by concerned individuals and groups who are likewise interested and keen to see this case continue and move forward. Again, it's a very important case and it involves media freedom, freedom of speech, as well as the right of our citizens to life, no less. No. So others also see the importance and the gravity of this case. That's why they came forward to assist in moving this case forward.
Okay. As a Clavano, it's interesting. You said that no public funds were used for the offer of this reward. But which non-government organizations would put up 3 million pesos just for the arrest of Bantag and Zulueta?
Well, their identities have to be kept quite confidential, Karen.
But that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to put up. Is it the family of Percy Lapid? Is it his friends?
Well, it's a group of people, not just one, not just a couple of people. It's quite a number, no?
Okay.
And
or are they also Bantag's enemies?
No, Karen. I can assure you these are people who are just willing to assist and make sure that justice is brought to the victims and to their families.
Okay. Now, the statement says that the reward will be issued to those who will provide information leading to the capture. And we do know how information is interpreted. And in the long run, this is where it could get messy. What does the DOJ mean by that?
Well, the notice says, Karen, that the reward shall be given to any person who gives information that leads to the arrest and successful prosecution of the wanted accused.
May prosecution. May prosecution.
Yes, Karen. Yes. Step one is to get in touch with the law enforcement agencies through the numbers provided in the notice. Of course, their information and the names of the informants will be kept confidential, obviously for safety and security reasons. Step two is for the law enforcement agencies to apprehend or arrest the wanted accused based on the information. So in the report or the operational plan set forth even before the operation, it will state who the information came from. Step three is the actual trial, and if and when the accused are convicted, that's the time the reward is given.
I see. So if the accused hypothetically isn't convicted, the informant doesn't get a reward?
Yes, Karen, this is part of the screening process that I was talking about a while ago. We have to sift and screen properly the information given to us. So those who believe in his guilt are more likely to be sincere in their information. The department believes that it has done enough in the case to warrant the trust of the people in this case. So after having heard of most of the evidence in the case, it hoped, sincerely, that the public would assist and support the department, seal the case, and bring justice to the victims and their family.
Okay. As a Clavano, I apologize for just pressing on this, but if you're an informant, what is my interest in the fact that I'd have to make sure he's prosecuted? So an informant could be somebody like this. Tatawag sa inyo, o si Bantag nakatira dito sa kapitbahay namin at nandun talaga, right? Halimbawa, eto siya, nandito, bumibili yan ng pandesal every morning, or alam ko, nakita ko siya. So the police arrest him. But the informant would be expecting that it led to the arrest, I get the 2 million. Why then would the conviction hinge on the informant? When, let's say you, hypothetically, what if the prosecutors were bad? What if the case wasn't good? Kasalanan pa ba ng informant yon?
No, Karen. Well, this is really a standard process that's done in various jurisdictions. We've compared the way that other jurisdictions give their rewards, and it also does hinge on the successful prosecution of the case. You're completely right when you say that it's not the informant's fault that the prosecution does not succeed. However, what we want here in the case is for justice to be brought to the victims and their families. And like I said, and I mentioned a while ago, it really is just part of the screening process and our desire to sift and screen through all the information given to us, making sure that they are as credible as possible.
Yeah.
But to your point, Karen, yes, you're right by pointing out that it's not the fault of the informant that the prosecution will, hopefully it won't fail, but it's not the fault of the informant if the prosecution does not succeed. It's just that we believe that those who believe in his guilt are more likely to be sincere in their information.
I understand. But then do you think it will work? Because, cases in the Philippines, they do last years.
Yes, Karen, and that's why it was important that we funded the reward through private sources, so as not to hinder anything in the future in case this case does last longer than the term of Secretary Mulya. Those private entities or private individuals will still be willing to give the reward.
All right. ASEC, another issue now. I wanted to ask you about Congressman Teves. The Department of Justice 2 months ago started steps in designating Teves as a terrorist. Where are you with this? Is the DOJ pursuing this?
Yes, Karen. There have been technical working groups, and they've met twice in the last 2 months to build up the case and to collect enough or gather enough evidence to hopefully support a designation of the Teves group. Well, the Anti-Terrorism Act does indicate there that there must be a purpose. So initially, when the NBI investigated the death or the massacre that happened in Pamplona, all the evidence gathered only led to the actual death of Governor Digamo and the 9 other civilians. So a lot more evidence had to be gathered, although there had already been information, especially that came out in the Senate about the terroristic acts or the acts of terror complained of in Negros. So it was just a matter of digging deeper into those statements, digging deeper and gathering more evidence to support those statements. We are quite confident that the designation will happen in the next few months. Although we have to be very, very careful and we have to be very diligent in the way we gather the evidence.
All right. I think it's important for the public to understand, why is a designation important in terms of pursuing this case? What will change if Teves is designated as a terrorist? Clearly, he is somewhere in Asia. He's not in the Philippines. He refuses to come home. But what will change if he's designated as a terrorist?
Well, Karen, if you're asking what will change in the
his situation, yes.
With his situation, yes, yeah, okay. I understand the question more clearly. Well, for his situation, Karen, the effect of designation is it will trigger the powers of the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Now, in the Anti-Terrorism Act, there's designation and there's prescription. Yeah. Designation is, for lack of a better term, milder than prescription, because designation is done administratively and only by the executive branch, whereas prescription is done by the court. So in the former, in designation, it will just trigger the Anti-Money Laundering Council powers, which will also involve freezing of assets, freezing of bank accounts, and such. Now, to answer your question, his situation will change because as his assets are frozen and his bank accounts are frozen, it may limit or it may hinder his movement around Asia. It may also hinder the resources that he has to fund any of his, well, if ever there are any more unlawful activities, that may be hindered as well.
Okay. Do you have solid information or intelligence reports where he is specifically?
Well, the last report that we had was that he was in Timor-Leste. So that's the last credible information that we got. Of course, we also have other sources of information, but until that is verified and that is validated, it may be more prejudicial than helpful if I disclose that now.
And I wanted to ask you, is it possible or not possible at this point, if let's say he still is in Timor-Leste, for both governments to ask assistance that the arrest be made there by their local police officials?
Well, Karen, the case is yet at the preliminary investigation stage. There are 2 cases that we are looking at. One involving unlawful possession of illegal possession of firearms and explosives, and the other for the massacre in Pamplona. So we just hope to push these cases to the court. In any case, in the last preliminary investigation hearing, both the lawyer and Congressman Teves did not show up. So we will just have to let the wheels of justice turn, as the Secretary always mentions. And as soon as the time is up for them to file a counter affidavit, the resolution will be made or issued on the basis merely of the complaint affidavit.
So I think it's important to clarify that until today, there is still no warrant issued against Congressman Teves.
You're right, Karen.
Okay, and why you have people asking, considering what's happened in the last few months, why is it taking so long? The lawyer of Congressman Teves said, Attorney Topacia says it just proves that there's really no evidence against him.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as that, Karen. I think the wheels of justice are deliberately turning slow, and it happens in every case, especially of this magnitude, where law enforcement agencies are very prudent and diligent in their work, especially in this case where we are trying to pierce through layers. We know and we can safely presume that the gunmen in this case are not the people who want the Gamo dead, or even those 9 civilians dead. So there has to be somebody behind it. And given the evidence at hand, and those and especially circumstantial evidence that we've gathered, we believe that we have to take our time and make sure that we build an airtight case. So it's not an indication of a weakness in the case.
Nabatian si Assistant Secretary Miko Clavano, spokesperson sa Justice Department. So amo ni ang mga development. No, sa kay bantag ti amo man ang mga initial information nga bato nila. Ang parte naman ni sa kay Congressman Teves, ang congressman sa 3rd District sang Negros Oriental. Tub-tub subong why na sa info nga nabato ng Justice Department kundi ng whereabouts ni Congressman Arnie Teves. Kag kon na parte abi sa warrant of arrest, so klaro ni Asik Clavano nga wala pa sang pending warrant of arrest ni si Congressman Teves. Ara pa subong sa korte kay gina-deliberate pa na usisa pa Mayo kung kinanglan nga dagdagan siya sang warrant of arrest. Kinanglan dagdagan siya sang warrant of arrest. Kagiban yang kaso ara pa man sa prosecutor's office, gina-deliberate man para matanaw man sa ang mga circumstansya, ang mga ebidensya, no? Antes ini ipasaka man sa korte. 55 minutos na nakaligad sa alas 9. Kagay ning impormasyon ginadulong sa inyo sang Load Left Trading and Services. Isa mga dakong construction firm nga nabase sa Metro Manila. Nagaobra sa mga balay sa mga dalagko nga mga mansion o kon mga merkado. Pwede ka mo makapahimo man sa ila sa mga plano. Pwede ka mo makakadto sa ila opisina sa Block 5 Phase M Francisco Homes Gio San Jose del Monte City, Bulacan. Pangitaan nyo lang si Engineer Joey Diaz o kung mag-text ka mo sa iya nga number 0939-812-6336 0939-812-6336 o kung mag-email ka mo sa maria_rose@yahoo.com. Sa aton nga mga kabyanan, ang flyover why sa gyapon matapos, why sa gyapon masugdan. May mga nagapamangkot kay na may ara man kitang-kitaan to, may namangkot man sa aton. Niya sano pa na newsline dyan ni maumpisahan nila ang pagkayo sang ungka flyover kay tama na kagutok kung mag-rush hour dira sa ungka haro kag ungka pabiya kag kuninali nga magtupa man ang mabaskog nga ulan baaw gadalom pa da. So kinanglan tani nga may ara nga diversion sang alagyan ang kag isa diri amo ang ungka flyover ti anon tabi ka pag-divert hindi man na pwede mapagyan kay nagamat-amat man gani usmod di kung sige nga usmod base may ara pa matupan nga bagol sang ibandang makuturan ta o kung mga salakyan nga nagaalagi dira kabugat nga dan sa mga girder na so ang ila pamangkot san umpisahan sa taga DPWH ang pagpakayo, ang pag-reconstruct nga sa 680 million pesos nga balor sa nga ongka flyover na butang lang sa warat datsoy. No? So kung ipakayo ina, may another budget na naman ng mga 250 million pesos ang balor sa pagpakay o pagpa-reconstruct ang pamangkosin o ma-reconstruct. So ang DPWH kagang kontraktor daw wala sa gyapon mo ba? Daw babayan ng nilahaw nga muning kadako nga proyekto. Di ka panawagan ang mga pumuluyo o mga commuters nga kung may mo, dasig-dasigan nyo man. Ha? Sa regional director sa DPWH, sa assistant regional director sa nagplano sina. Ano pa bayantan lang na? Ibutang tan na lang, islista tan na lang ni salimot. Ang ining nga pag-obra sa nga ungka flyover nga sige ang pag-usmod. Pabayantan na lang na. Kung why ka mo huya, pues pabayin nyo. Pero kung may huya ka mo, obrahan nyo na. Base nga magpaubraman kamo sa mga tarpaulin para sa Graphics Innovative Mind. Ang Graphics Innovative Mind na hamtang ina sa Barangay Katilingban, Molo, Siyudad sang Iloilo. Pangitaan nyo lang si Sir Manny John Sanoy. May mag-ubra na sa mga tarpaulin, sa mga souvenirs, sa mga lamination. Away gid problema hasta printing sang t-shirt ara da sa Graphics Innovative Mind. Mayad lang ang pagpamati sa atong mga listeners sa Sagwa, sa abroad. Thank you so much. Sa kay Lislida, kay Leo Gabinoy. Ano na, Rinse Diaz. Thank you so much sa pagtanaw kag pagpamati. Sa Diaz family, sa clan Panay Island. Salamat man sa pagtanaw kag pagpamati. Sa tanan-tanan nga makatapos sa media nga nagamonitor sa atong pagwaragwag. Madamo nga salamat sa mga drivers, conductors sa Valyacar Transit Incorporated, kay Sir Radney Santarin, kay JJ kay sawahon niya da. Mayong gabi. Diraman kay Sir Joseph Poyco, mayad nga gabi. Kag sa iban pang mga personal sa Valyacar Transit, kag sa mga vendors, sa mga porters, mga service crew sang Sweetie Boko Shake, kag Mars Pastry, subong man sa Sarjan Mini Grocery. Maayad-ayad nga gabi sa inyong nga tanan. Sa Igamino family, mayong gabi. Superior family, sa Guadalupe family, mayong gabi. Basi nga magpakonsulta ka mo, dito ka mo kay Dr. Marilyn Garmay Gaitan. Arad ang klinikaya sa Cruising Pinya, sa Binavista sa isa parmasyada. Masyar lang mo to, may ginabatya ka mo. Galain mapaginhawa nyo, kabataan nyo, naugahilanat. Dalaan nyo to sa klinika ni Dr. Marilyn Garmay. Miyerkules kag Biyernes o Sabado, no, last 10 ang aga, dalaan nyo to. Kag magpakonsulta ka mo para nga hindi na maglala ang inyo ginabatsyag o kung ginabatsyag sang inyo pamilya. Dalaan nyo to palihog. Kag pamangkot lang kita. Dira sa mga tambay-tambay dabla. Upod sa isak pulis da sa Suo Caribalo. Sige pa kamo da panahor? Sige pa kamo gambling da? O kung sige pa pagduso nyo sa illegal drugs da? Abi ang tatin nyo na. Tama na. Why ka mo maluoy sa inyo pamilya? Why ka mo maluoy sa inyo kaugalingon? On tatin na ninyo. Sa mga pulis naton, no, nga mga active, abi kanan nyo, titida nyo na. Kaya daw mandatos ang gin-dismiss kuno ng puliso. Nga tawo kuno na sang una sang ni alias Dragon. Ara kuno mandatos na da. Abi titida nyo kag dakpa kung mahimo pa lang, kung may balasihan ma lang. Dira sa Suok Arevalo. Wala na kita sa tiniyon sa atong pagpangalagan sa tanan-tanan nga nagahiwat sang kadlawan. Happy birthday. Sa mga listeners naman sa abroad, thank you so much. Kay Michelle Kalaging, kay classmate, kay Philsi Martires Salud, mayong gabi. Kay Nemia Marquillero, mayong gabi. Diraman sa Ontario, Canada, kay Edie Moriera, kay classmate, mayong gabi. Diri lang kita kutob sa atong pagpangalagad. Upod lang kay Toto Bojev kag Nonoy MJ. Ini ang inyo alagad, Johnny Yanson Diaz. Madamo nga salamat kag mayong gabi Pilipinas para sa Iloilo Newsline.